This is Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart, and this is a late session update for Thursday, September 1st, 2022. Video number 3, the other two are long. I'll keep this one very brief. Just want to do a quick update and, more of a kind of a near-term trade idea or just a follow-up really to those wedges. I'm going to get to those in a second. No change since the last post I got out to you, and then I encourage you, if you're actively trading or you're interested in the topic of a post, go back in and check. I'll sometimes add additional charts and commentary in the comments section below that post or answer any questions. But what we're going to look at here is SQQQ, something I'm taking a close look at. This is probably the go-to ETF now, and originally they came out with PSQ, a one-time short, and then QID, a two-time short of the NASDAQ 100, and then a few years back they started rolling out the three-time leverage, and that's a lot of day traders, even swing traders flock to these things. So you can sometimes extrapolate things from volume patterns and other things. So what we're looking at here, I'm on a very short-term chart, a 5-minute chart, and you can see what I've done is a pretty much in reverse. It's just like we have the bullish falling wedges on the 60-minute charts, and here's a zoom in of a bearish rising wedge, because remember, this is an inverse ETF. So here's what I'm looking at. You can see a fairly clean up trend line right here. Again, we're just only zooming on a 5-minute. I'm not going all the way out to a 60-minute chart. And then what I like to look at too, a couple things here. The volume at price histogram I find useful in a lot of securities. You'll notice that a lot of times I have the bars tuned down in the videos. You might not pick them up too well if you're not using a high resolution monitor or you're just looking on your phone. But that shows you, as the name implies, a volume at each price. So whereas this is total volume for the day by time, each bar represents how much volume in every 5 minutes. Each bar is 5 minutes, like under the candles. And this shows you at a certain price point where everyone was buying. So what you have here is a ton of buying. You can see that right there. A lot of buying separated by a gap. When there's a gap, obviously you're not going to have any bars or very little. There was a little spike into that, but there's today's gap right there, right? And so those gaps are thin zones. And so the way it works is you have a confluence of support, which again is resistance on QQQ. We're still at those, right at those trend lines since I got that post out to you, gosh, what, 25 minutes ago or more. Maybe even over half an hour ago, we were ES had broken out, and QQQ or NQ was testing and still is, and that's what's showing you here. QQQ or SQQQ is also testing that. And so what happens is these are what I call, a lot of terms I make up in trading. I call them JCL shorts, Johnny come lately shorts. They didn't want to short back here. They wanted to after, we're extremely oversold at resistance. Market's been going down. They have recency bias, and recency bias is you tend to think what's happened most recently will continue indefinitely. And so they bought here, and hey, maybe they're going to be right and I'm wrong. I'm still sitting tight on those longs, but it's kind of late to be shorting, and you can see a lot of buying here on SQQQ. It means a lot of people are shorting the market by buying this 3-time inverse ETF. And so therefore when you fall below it, gaps usually once entered are backfilled. And so to enter the gap means we're going to take out the trend line number one, so that's one sell signal there. You're also going to have move below this price support level right there. That's the top of the gap right there. That's what we're testing now. And then all these people who bought here are going to be wiped out. So you have to imagine, especially as oversold as we were, even though it's not where I would have been shorting, they did. And let's just say that they at least partially know what they're doing and they have stops. They said, okay, yeah, I think we're going to just keep falling, but we're oversold, so I'm going to have stops. So you have to imagine a lot of those stops from those about here to here, right here. So when those stops get hit, it should be a quick move down. Once that gap is taken out, the next support's 40.45. Once we take out that level, it should be a quick swoon down. It could come today in the final hour of trading, which I think it will. It's 3:08 right now as I'm talking, and so plenty of time left to see a quick move down there. Could certainly come in the after-hour session and or overnight. So, and then you can see the stops along the way. 44.04. They'll step in and buy. And then probably get a bounce, then come on down here. And ultimately, this would be my max target right now. And these are thin zones right here. You can see this thin zone. between these bars. A lot of buying happened right here, but it's pretty thin right there. So you can trade off those. Those are levels to get a likely reaction, but again, I gave you my targets this morning on those 2-hour charts. There's another question somebody asked. They said, Randy, about the whole 1-hour chart. Sometimes, a lot of times I'll post 60-minute charts, and today I gave you 2-hour charts, and they asked, what about the candlestick close? Here, let's look at that, and then I promised a short video. Boom, there it is. We broke out, actually, since I started the video. So we were testing. Finally, there's your confirming breakout. Now, we didn't close here yet. Now I'm on an hourly. I got you a 2-hour chart originally today, followed up with 1-hour charts. And my answer to that person was, look, the longer the time frame you wait for a close above when you get a breakout like this, the higher the chance it's going to stick. In other words, the lesser chance you're going to have that it's a whipsaw. The downside to that is bullish falling wedges, especially when you're very oversold and you're at key support, are potentially explosive patterns. So if you sit and wait for a 2-hour candlestick close, you could be all the way up here, and then it's already at the first target right there, or even higher, quite possibly. And you wait for 1 hour, same thing. So what I said, and you could take a look at that, if I see there's a good chance a wedge is going to break out, and I came long into today. Let's say I had nothing, and I would have probably started taking longs at support in anticipation of the breakout of the wedge, adding on the initial breakout when NQ and ES popped it, and then if you get a solid 60-minute close, add more there, and maybe even on a 2-hour close. And here's your measured target, widest part of the wedge. That should take us up there, but I also have this downtrend line that comes into play. So that's it. I just wanted to say, watch this. So far, so good. A little reaction high there. But remember, I look at all the indexes. ES broke out first, then NQ followed. We haven't printed a close yet, a 60-minute close. This candle will not close till the end of the day. It's now 3:10 p.m. So this breakout could fail, and if we don't get a solid 60-minute close, then by that metric, by waiting for the hourly candle to close, we never really got a breakout. It was just an intra-period pop. Here's one right there. See that little wick? That's an intra-period pop. So that's it. I think we'll get it. But again, I thought we'd bounce, on some of these other levels that we had very small reactions. So, like I said, this is an important level here. If we, if bulls can't take it, the onus is on the bulls to take it and run here, at least for a rally. Today's lows were big support, like I covered extensively in the earlier videos. So, if we just crap out here and go much below without anything other than just a brief spike and a recovery, it's not going to be good. But as of now, I still think we'll get some upside here. And let's look at ES and then the SPY and QQQ, and then I will wrap it up and get it out to you. ES, well, that's NQ. Where's my ES? There it is, ES. See there, you did get a solid, this is an hourly chart when I got out to you last. Solid breakout. That's what you want to see on a breakout. It would have been all the better if NQ gave us that too, but it didn't. We're working on trying to get a solid close above it now. Follow through candle. So that looks good. You can see a solid print on the 60-minute. There's some price resistance as well in ES right there, right? And this candle's taking that out. So if we can close this green, all the better. And then you can see the targets marked there. 4013, 4073. And before I get to SPY and QQQ, let me do RTY for you. RTY, big support right there with the trend line not too far below in case they do jog down and try to give us one final shakeout move. That still leaves the possibility, for that in ES and everything else, and then reverse. But there's your wedge, and that may not happen. We already hit support, the falling wedge to support, so we haven't broken out on the small caps yet, but if and when they break out, they'll follow the large caps if the large caps stick. So there's one for you as well. Minimum target, I'd say right up there, minimum 1867, and quite likely you can probably swing it back up here to 1904 in that downtrend line. That'd be what I'd be shooting for now. But I would have liked to have seen this trend line get hit as well. You don't always get what you want. QQQ 60-minute chart. No, that's SQQQ. Here's QQQ. 60-minute, there's your wedge right there. So confirm we broke out of that wedge, and we did get the last 60-minute candle on QQQ was a closing candle above there, so that's confirmation. And then boom, 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 boom. So looking good so far. And like I said, I think there's a lot of shorts. I can tell you by looking at. Oh, I didn't show you this. Well, there's SPY real quick. There's your confirming breakout candle with a follow-through candle so far. There's the wedge again, 60-minute chart of SPY. But what I wanted to show you, and I didn't before, I didn't finish up on it. So on QQQ, here's one thing I look at. So let's go to a daily chart here. Nope, daily right here. Yep, that's right. Okay, so here's the drop recently. I'm just using a line chart, just to show you. We've been following on QQQ, and let's look at the volume. So, almost always, just about every time you have a correction, the stock market volume is going to pick up. But we had a pickup, but nothing huge. You can see I have a 10-period exponential moving average, a blue line on the volume, and the volume bars here are the gray bars. So a little bit of an uplift, a little bit, just right about in line with the 10-day. Again, a slight uptick on this on the last 4 or 5 days, last week or so, are selling, and so that shows you what the Qs did. But then look at SQQQ. See, this is the short sellers, or not short sellers. Sophisticated short sellers will typically use futures and or the Qs. A lot of retail buyers buying the SQQQ, but look at that. They bought hard. Look at the 10-day moving average spiking up. And you can see, hopefully you can see in the video, the big volume bars here. And that tells me a lot of retail traders have been shorting this rally and increasingly shorting it in the last few days. And therefore, they don't know it, but they're effectively short sellers, even though they went long SQQQ. So when they go long SQQQ, the ETF company, ProShares, has to turn around and effectively buy derivatives, effectively short the market, short the Qs, more money coming into it, right? And now when they turn around and these guys start getting smoked out, when those levels, if those levels that I just mentioned happen, and we continue to rally here in the market, they're going to sell. Their stops are going to be hit. They're going to start losing money, especially those that came in late. And then that selling, the turnaround, when you're selling SQQQ, then ProShares is buying the market. They're buying the Qs to balance out, with the outflows out of SQQQ. So that's it. And again, you can trade it directly, watching that. There it is, trendline break. We're starting to backfill the gap. And 45.45 should do the trick. A solid break below 45.45 on SQQQ. That's what I'd like to see. Otherwise, it's a breakout, but it's close, and we're at the end of the day. Would have been nicer to see this breakout happen earlier. So take it on face value for now. But if it fails, just recognize that that's going to be bearish, meaning if SQQ snaps back up in here and QQQ and NQ solidly fall back down below those wedges, and especially below today's lows. But unless that happens, this is what I'm looking at. All right, we'll wrap it up here. This has been Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart. Have a great day.